It is time for Free Speech Fridays, brought to you by Free Speech Union, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. Visit them at fsu.nz. Our panellist this week, and I'm going to rename him. He is a hospitality entrepreneur and outdoorsman, Alistair Boyce. Boycey, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, Sean.
Do you like that? Hospitality entrepreneur and outdoorsman? Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm all good with that. I wish I could do more of the outdoors thing, I can tell you.
All right. And joining us from the founder of the New Zealand Centre for Political Research, former ACT MP and outspoken critic of stuff she don't like, Muriel Newman joins us by phone. Muriel, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Sean.
Lovely to have you both here. Look, I know this wasn't on the extensive list. So much has happened this week, guys. But I'm particularly interested in your response to this. Muriel, I always think, that calling on someone in politics to resign is a pretty meaningless thing to do, and sending someone an open letter means you can't afford the stamp. What do you make of Roger Douglas and Rob McCulloch having a crack at Nicola Willis?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because if you've followed what the two of them have been saying, and Roger Douglas especially, for decades, they've been really warning that New Zealand is heading for a financial cliff, and of course the GDP figures, showing that the country is doing worse than everybody thought, and I know it's retrospective, but nevertheless, I think has just heightened their awareness that nobody in the government is talking about the huge problem of superannuation funding, unfunded liability that lies ahead, and so they've seen it as an opportunity to raise awareness of it.
And we know that New Zealand First is looking for a policy, a quite fundamental policy or a policy proposal on that, don't we, Muriel? So it's kind of feels like it is aiding and abetting New Zealand First in a political sense.
Yeah, but I don't think that would have been their intention because, of course, what New Zealand First is proposing is to take over KiwiSaver. And what Roger has been very, very strong on is to set up your own personal accounts using tax funding. In other words, money that would go to the government into the big, general coffers would go into your own personal account. And so he sees a new scheme based on that, not hijacking KiwiSaver, which was set up for a different purpose.
Yeah, well, all I've seen in response, Muriel, this morning is people saying, I don't like Roger Douglas because he busted the unions, and I like Rob Muldoon. Boyce, the other thing just in general is, and Helen Clark, God, if I had $1 for every time Helen Clark forgot she isn't still the Prime Minister and waded in on something from Gaza to bloody women's rights to equality to Eden bloody Park. Do you think we're pretty over old politicians thinking they're current politicians, Boyce?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we've got to start striding ahead. I think Roger Douglas and McCulloch make some really good points, and they've gone for the media soundbite to get the maximum effect. I think Nicola Willis is a safe pair of hands, but she's not doing anything on that structural change, and she didn't go hard enough on getting the fiscal balance right. So hopefully this gives them a bigger shake-up call, gets the issues out there, and we get a stronger government, stronger coalition coming out the other end. Yeah.
Well, the fact is, too, guys, this comes at a time, and I don't know if he's reached the tipping point yet, but you get the feeling, Muriel, Luxon isn't going to be around forever, and he's not certainly going to do 9 years as the Prime Minister. He's almost at the point now of when is he going to go, not if he's going to go, right?
Look, again, that's a really difficult one because, all political parties know that to change their leader is a huge, huge step. And, especially if you do it midterm. If you do it after an election, that's a completely different story, isn't it? Because either they've been essentially booted out by the people if the government loses, or they've been given a fresh mandate by the people if they win. So they're in a difficult position because, you go from a situation where, we may not like it, but there is stability, political stability, to one where there's complete and utter chaos if you change a leader. And, so it is a difficult situation for the centre-right.
Yeah. Boyce?
Yeah, I don't think they can change Luxon out, but yet we can, all of us who are interested in stable centre-right government and fiscal responsibility can sure as hell put a lot more pressure on them to get the policy settings right and to drive the country in the right direction. They campaigned on getting back on track, but they're not yet on the track.
Yeah. Well, they've failed, guys. I think we'd all agree they have failed to be, or National in particular, have failed to back the kind of culture war changes that many New Zealanders wanted on issues around the treaty, on issues of transgenderism, on issues of wokeness. They were just missing in action on that. They left it to ACT and to New Zealand First. They said that's because we're fixing the economy. So I think it's smart politics for the left to attack National, saying it's not fixing the economy. If they can sheet that home, Muriel, there's nothing to like about the National Party.
Yeah, but I think they just have to weather it out. From what I've read, there are green shoots there for the economy, and spring is going to make everyone feel better about life in general. So they really do have to hope that their policy changes that they've put in place over the last 18 months actually start to deliver. Otherwise, we are buggered as a country. Excuse my French. It's a very difficult situation for a country, and you're dead right. The left are attacking Luxon and National on that economic recovery because, as Alistair said, that was a key part of their election manifesto and their promise to Kiwis.
Yeah. Boyce, I just wonder why I've got you there. Did you hear the interview we just done with Rhonda Fitzpatrick?
Yes, I did.
Andrew Little hasn't responded to us in terms of just down at the coalface politics. That's pretty rotten what he did, isn't it?
Well, I think it is. I know Rhonda, and she's an incredibly hard-working and dedicated person who's been the heart and soul of Independent Together and Ray Chung's On the Ground campaign. So it's incredibly disappointing, Andrew Little's response to her, and I know she was pretty shaken up. And Andrew Little is a fearsome person who is a totalitarian by his very nature.
All right. And he's welcome to come on the program and say that he's not, by the way, guys. Look, we'll keep going. We'll put the ad break in later. Look, a story that caught my eye this week, and because there's so much else happening, guys, I didn't get time to deal with it on the program. I see a judge called David Harvey gave a guy in the Hutt Valley back his gang patch because he was wearing it at night and not many people would have seen it, and he'd been round to, I don't know, a wake or something at a mate's house, even though he'd been completely uncooperative on his motorcycle with the cops. I mean, God give me strength, Alistair. I thought we passed laws to make these people feel uncomfortable about wearing gang patches and take the bloody things off them. This is the second judge who's given back that symbol of hate and rebellion.
Yeah, well, we've got rogue judges who probably find the new gang patch law difficult for their ideology, but it's working really, really well. So there's a couple of aberrations. I don't want to get too hung up on a couple of aberrations because I think overall it's a highly successful policy, and it's made New Zealanders feel safer and allowed to participate more fully in their communities, and their children feel safer. And if we have communities that feel like that, well, we're more likely to get the economy back on track. Now, with the economy, it's very interesting that the green shoots that Muriel talks about are rural and South Island. But I'm telling you right now, central Wellington and central Auckland in all sorts of trouble. Central Wellington especially I know about because I'm right in the midst of that. And it's not going to get any better unless we get democratic change within that.
We're all right for the next couple of weeks. We got WOW going on, so there are like packs of women shopping all over the time and then drinking Chardonnay before they go off to WOW. It's a very strange thing that happens once a year in Wellington, Alistair.
It's very strange, but one swallow or a couple of weeks of it don't make a summer.
No, that's right. I stay off the streets. I don't go out when WOW's on. It's very dangerous. The marauding girl gangs can be quite intimidating.
For them or for you?
for me. Muriel, we shouldn't be giving these people back their bloody patches. Why did we bother with the law in the first place?
Look, I think what it tells us, though, is that governments have got to be a lot clearer when they're drafting legislation, because obviously they would have been warned that, you haven't said that the patches have to be destroyed. And so, the judges are reading the letter of the law and they're saying, okay, that means we can give them back. Now, the biggest, the biggest example of a bad law is the Marine and Coastal Area Act, which now we're finding ends up giving the whole flipping coast to Maori claimants, whereas, when it was drafted and promised by the national government back in 2011, they said, only a few bits of the coast will end up being claimed. And so what that case shows is the dreadful, dreadful drafting of a bad law and the consequences, huge consequences for New Zealand. And government should learn from these things, right? So this is a case where they've left some holes in the law. They should have been fixed up. Judges wouldn't have been able to give the patches back if they'd have done it properly in the first place. So I think an amendment to the law is needed, and they need to do it quick. Otherwise, more judges will find loopholes.
Well, damn said. All right, we're going to have a break now, guys. Then when we come back, we're going to talk Charlie Kirk and Winston's big reveal on recognising Palestine. You are listening to Free Speech Fridays with Muriel Newman and Alistair Boyce, brought to you by the Free Speech Union, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. Visit them, see what they're up to, and if you need their help, go to fsu.nz.